I don't think we've talked about revenue. I think it's still, in my opinion, it's still too early, but any revenue that we get will just be a plus. I do know there's a fee of $5,000 per license.
For both recreational and
Right.
medicinal.
So that's all we really talked about. We're just talking about trying to come up with a number and what's the best way to try to get it out of the neighborhoods.
I believe there was discussion because we've heard so much in reference to how much money this is all going to bring into the city, but we're just trying to find out, is it bringing in the monies that they have claimed that it's going to bring in? I think Mr. Bezura did bring that forward. The question was, we've heard about all this money, but we haven't seen how it's been paid and how it's affecting the cities that it's in.
Councilman John?
Through the chair to Butch, I understand, I was here and I heard that, but in our meetings that we had, we never talked about the revenue. Because we don't really know what it's going to be.
I would guess that a lot of the revenue discussions are more on social media platforms where there are, a lot of opinions of it being lucrative, and I'm not subscribing to that argument. I think that there's an opportunity for the city to cover its cost, but I don't know that it's going to be a huge revenue generator. I'm not standing before you guys making that argument.
Mr. Chairman? Yeah, and I wasn't suggesting either of you. When I read Charlie's post and Facebook in general, there's a lot of people that assume that, and part of my thought about, making sure we get good public input is making sure people understand that these decisions won't be made because we think there is a windfall of money. I mean, the survey, I expressed my dissatisfaction with the way some of these questions were worded, but question 8 said, if research finds that these facilities represent a significant increase in city revenue. I think it's a leading question to make people believe that these facilities will represent a significant increase in city revenue. What if it was, we're not going to generate any additional revenue, and in fact it'll be a net loss to the general fund? Not saying that that's the case either, but a lot of the responses that we got here, a lot of the responses that you got, I'm just off the cuff saying people suggesting we're dummies if we don't take advantage of the tax windfall or the revenue, and I'm just saying if the committee didn't talk about it, that's fine. I think our residents should understand that.
I think to be clear, Mr. Chairman, the committee discussed the state law related to the revenue sharing, but the problem is with that is we don't really know what that methodology is because it's kind of like the statutory state revenue sharing. There's a lot of discretion within the state. So what the state's saying is all the money gets pooled into a pot, and all the cities that are included that have opted in, there's a portion of that gets dispensed back to each community.
15%, right?
Yeah, well, I don't even know.
Well, they have to exceed 20 million. It's 20 million.
First couple of years they
if it
grab
doesn't
their
exceed
20
million, nobody's getting anything.
Right.
It's not real clear.
Right.
I mean, and it doesn't leave everybody with the feeling that we're going to see much. So there is potential that, the way they have it framed, yes, if all of this turns into what they think it's going to, that the cities that are included could benefit. I don't know how deep we are into that conversation right now.
Well, I can tell you one thing, the state will benefit.
I don't think anybody's arguing that.
Through the chair. So if we enacted this, how is this going to get marijuana out of the neighborhood?
Well, it'll, if you remember in the ordinance, it requires that they would have to certify, essentially they would have to file for an application to grow it locally or within the community. They would have to get all the proper inspections. It would give us a little more ability to enforce the illegals. And so what I mean by illegals, that people think that just because they have not a caregiver's license, a medical card, they can grow 12 plants at home. They can, but they still have to get everything properly inspected. If under the current ordinance, or what's being proposed, if we have the ability to come out and inspect and there's going to be a fee associated with that, then we'll have a database of where they're going to be registered at, so that if we get a call or we know at least what's going on before we get there, that house is growing and growing legally. there's this misconception that because I have a medical card or a caregiver's license, I can grow legally anywhere that I want to, and that's not the case.
To the chair, Councilwoman Whitten, I don't think we'll ever get it out of the neighborhoods. But this is just another tool. I mean, people are gonna grow it if they wanna grow it.
And that's why I'm asking,
You know,
because
but-
we heard before that it was hard to enforce
But
already.
my opinion is, if I can go buy it, if I smoked it, and I can go buy it, that it's licensed by the state, that it's tested by a separate facility, that it's safe, that it's marijuana, there's nothing laced with it, it didn't use PBBs to grow it, and I would be more apt to buy that product at a store, even though it might cost a little bit more, but I'd be more apt to buy it than buying it from a house on A Street.
Mr. Chairman, I mean, people did vote to be able to consume and to grow and to possess, so it's not gonna leave the neighborhoods. I would suggest that if the house on Melody Lane, that you're referring to has hundreds of plants, that it is an illegal operation and it doesn't meet the standard of what a caregiver is allowed to grow. And if we have firsthand knowledge of that and we want it out of our neighborhoods, we should deal with it, because there's no argument that a caregiver can grow, you know, more than their 72 plants or whatever the limit is. So outside of the illegal operations, which in my opinion we could already attack if we wanted, people are going to grow it, people are going to consume it, and people are going to possess it, and that's what a majority of them voted for. So it's not leaving the neighborhoods.
Well, I agree to disagree. I think it, as time goes on, it will leave the neighborhoods, slowly but surely, because I know people that do grow it. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of time, it's a lot of effort. And if they have a chance to buy it reasonably somewhere else, I think it'll start leaving the neighborhoods. You're always gonna have the illegal, no matter what. You're always
I'm talking about legal. I'm talking about people that are legally able to grow it.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, part of the discussion is a strategy to get it out of the neighborhoods, but it is just that, a strategy. The other part of that discussion is ensuring it's done safely. So if they're going to do it and if they're going to grow it, we want to make sure it's being done to code. We want to make sure that they're pulling permits for proper electrical, proper lighting, proper watering techniques. And we also want to be sure that we can identify it potentially in the event that there's a problem in the area. So that's really the other part of the focus of you know, making the requirement that if you're going to grow it in your house, whether it be 12 plants or 72 plants, whatever those thresholds are, that it's done correctly and, you know, done safely. But I know we're postponing it, and a lot of the discussion we can have at, you know, the next meeting. But again, I just want to make sure that if you guys want to see any of the, you know, again, I'm reluctant to say experts, but the people with a lot more experience, you know, please let us know, and we'll make sure those people are here.
Is there any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Item 6.3 is a motion to approve the purchase of 8 police vehicles from Berger Chevrolet, low bid in the amount not to exceed $307,920, and this is funded through Police Capital Outlay Account.
Support.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilman Remick, supported by Councilman Johnson. Is there any discussion?
I do, Mr. Chair. I had asked the question in regard to, they're being purchased by Berger Chevrolet, which is out in Grand Rapids, correct?
Correct.
And my question to you before the meeting was why not Taylor Chevy or whatever? So if you could explain that to our residents.
Yes,